So another thing that art can do that's really important is it has the ability to change the world and to raise people's awareness about certain things. Um, an example of this that I always use is There Will Be Blood. That movie was an entertaining movie and it was a narrative film, but it had this underlying message that I thought was very profound about how these oil moguls around the turn of the century, um, who they were, what their psychology was, and how that psychology and that drive um, shaped their life. And then because they were so influential and they were creating all these oil wells everywhere, how it shaped our world. You know, the psychology and the pathology of these like oil moguls has turned our world into what it is today, which is a very oil driven society. I mean, if there weren't these guys back then who were so driven to dig down into the earth to, harvest the blood of the earth, which is partially what I think the title is referring to, then we wouldn't have such an oil driven society nowadays. And a lot of people who have become very influential on the course of our civilization were really driven. A lot of them men who had some real issues. They might not have been real good at connecting to people. They didn't have very many human feelings, and they might have ended up like Daniel Plainview in a mansion all by themselves, lonely and miserable at the end of their life. And these are the guys who have turned our world into what it is today, which we accept and we live under, So that's a very profound message, and that movie like really affected me, and I think it affected a lot of people in our culture to really, think about that. So that's one example of how art can really change the world and raise awareness, change people's awareness and their reality that they operate under. Another great example from recent times is The Cove. I just watched Oprah. The guys from The Cove were on Oprah, and they were talking about their film, and Oprah was just so impressed with how they have raised awareness of like the dolphin slaughter that goes on in that town in Japan, and how people are being fed poisoned meat, basically, that's marketed as whale meat, but it's actually dolphin meat with a lot of mercury in it. So they've changed the world with their Oscar-winning documentary about dolphin slaughter, and they're raising our consciousness to a level where we're acknowledging dolphins as intelligent, sentient beings that recognize themselves in a mirror and save human lives. When humans are drowning, dolphins will save them, and they're obviously like an intelligent life form that we have to like we have to own up to that in our conscience. We can't keep abusing them and treating them like dumb animals or whatever. So that's another great example of a movie that has been a really successful vehicle of change, in a positive way in the world. And the filmmakers actually said like film is the most powerful tool for communication, I think they said, in the world. And I believe that. But, not just film, but art can do that to people. It can really get through and change people. And we have to keep this in mind, as artists, because yes, there is art that doesn't do that, but when art works and when it does do that, it's amazing. It's breathtaking. So another thing that art does, just to wrap this up here, because I know I've been going on for a while, is it connects people. It gives them a communal experience. And so when else, I'm just thinking of the experience of experiencing art for people. People get together and they experience art as a group, and they all are looking at it or listening to it or whatever, and as a whole they're all sort of experiencing the same thing. It's like the artist or team of artists is communicating with the public as a whole. And it's this very communal, very connecting experience. There's not many things in our lives that are like that. One other thing that I can think of that's sort of like that is sports. When people all go to a sporting event, they feel a lot of solidarity. But the thing with sports is that there's two teams. So it's like connecting for everybody that's on the same team, but then there's this whole other team that's not connected, that we hate them like they're the other team. And, another area where people come together is also politics. But again, with politics, there's like these teams where it's like you're either with the Democrats or the Republicans, so you can feel connected, but it's only within your group. The other group you're not connected to as much. You sort of hate them. They're kind of your enemy. So I see art as kind of a very advanced thing evolutionarily, because it's like we're all together as a group. We're all experiencing the same thing. It's bringing us together. And some art brings people all together, and some divides and fragments it into individuals. But it has potential to be just a completely unifying experience, which is, definitely a positive thing. All right, so just to review, art is selfless, it can change the world and change awareness, it brings a new perspective, and it connects people, gives them a communal experience. So I think it's very important. I know I'm going to keep doing it for the rest of my life. So I wish everybody a awesome weekend of making art and talking about art and being the pioneers of our generation in creating new perspectives, new ways of thinking about the world where we can make this a better place. And I encourage everybody to just go out and make a lot of art and go out into Graham's fields and experience how beautiful they are, and just the beauty of nature, which I get so little of here. It's really, something you shouldn't take for granted. And the grandeur of his barn, which is like this, it's an old structure that has all this history to it and sort of a mystical quality, for me at least. And I encourage you to check out Pillowhead, which has the climactic scene is set in Graham's barn, and the barn is a metaphor, is a microcosm for the mind of the main character, played by Alec Ansack. So he's going deeper into the barn and deeper into his mind, and the barn is this palace that is inhabited by the king, and the barn is situated in the heart of Comfort Town. So I just encourage you to watch that movie and think about all the resonances as you're in the barn. And Graham should have my other films, which would be available to watch, many of which Graham was a key collaborator on. You can also check out the communication movie, the Dig, where I'm digging the hole. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for supporting my films, and everybody that came out to the premiere in December of Have You Seen. I really appreciate it. So have a great weekend. This is Andrew Lyman-Clarke signing off from New York.